all of a sudden, about 2/3 of the way through the event, a man's name is called. But instead of a man standing up in the audience, it's a woman. And she's probably close to 80 years old. And she comes up to the stage. And as she's coming up to the stage, she says out loud so everybody can hear, "My husband has survived 5 years with his tumor. The only reason he's not here is he's home because he's not feeling well. And I wanted to be here on his behalf to accept this award." She walks up to the stage and she stands on the stage, and now I realize there's quite a difference in height. So this lady's about this tall, on the taller side. And she reaches to hug me, so I have to reach down to hug her. And she whispers in my ear, "Your company, your industry didn't just save my husband's life, but you also saved my mother's life with another medicine that it turns out our company also manufactured." And it's moments like those that you get goosebumps. Even telling you the story now, it just happened to me again, because you realize what we're doing is so powerful, so meaningful. And when you have those really lousy days at work, and I know you all do, because if you're working for a big drug company, you must be having some bad days at work, you can remember why it is we get up every day and do what we do.
Many of you have come because the topic is around patients. And there is a story I would like to share with you which happened to me and which completely changed the way I look about our industry and the work I do. In 2001, I was responsible for a chemotherapeutic drug, and everything was working well. I was global project head, so we had the Matrix team thinking about new registration trials, and we went to FDA to think about new programs that we want to put in place. And then suddenly I got a phone call from my mother, and she said, I've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And then 2 weeks later, I got the same phone call from my mother-in-law, and she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So you can imagine this was a huge shock for us, the whole family, and it was a very tough period to go through. Clearly, it is a moment where all these Kaplan-Meier curves that you see at congresses suddenly become very tangible. They become very personal. They are not dots anymore. They are a family, a friend that are behind these curves. And that's the exercise I want to do with you. For me, it was giving me a lot of comfort that actually the drug I was responsible for was given to my mother and also to my mother-in-law. And I saw the effect it did for them. They were able, against other chemotherapeutic drugs, to suddenly go and be outside of the hospital, to play tennis, to go skiing, despite being under chemotherapy. And that made me very proud, and it's something that I wanted to share with you because I think all the work that you do also impacts somehow on other people's lives.
When you were younger, much younger, you knew about children, right? You had read about them, you had seen them on television, they existed, right? And you could even read a book once you were about sure that you wanted them, and you could find out a lot of data about these funny creatures. And so you were learning at what is called the intellectual level. And that's fine. That's fine. But the next level is when you start seeing your friends getting children. It gets more real. You see the dark rows on their eyes. You see their social life being destroyed. But you also see the joy of them walking around with the kid and hugging it. This is the second level of experience called the related experience. But nothing comes as close as the third level, which is you actually holding your own child or staying up at night. And these three levels of, I didn't invent those, this is very old, it comes from India, Buddhist, it's 3,000 years old. These three levels of learning apply to everything. You can read a book about the Himalaya, you can talk to somebody who's been there, and you can actually climb a mountain. You can read a book about driving a car, you can sit in somebody's car, you can drive it. Anything you learn like that. That's very important to understand that. And it's the same thing in health and disease.